How do you think this is all going to play out?
Well, I think I would describe this as kind of the confluence of two, separate agendas. One is to, physically keep us down. And I often think about the Pottinger cat study and how it's affected humanity. Um, and I don't think, obviously it's not quite as clear cut because, they were in a controlled environment and fed a controlled diet. And for those who may not be aware, that study was of cats. And when they were fed just cooked meat and pasteurized dairy compared to raw meat and raw dairy, just cooking it for cats resulted in essentially extinction of their species by the fourth generation, and declining health all the way through progressively to that point. And so Paul's drawing the analogy, right, that because our diet has radically changed, I think there's really two iterations of this, because at the inception of agriculture, that caused a major change to our diet from our natural diet. And then with the advent of, manufactured and processed foods in the last century, often kind of attributed to Kellogg, who did this for religious reasons, essentially to make us impotent.
Kellogg's quite a story himself.
Yeah, he is. We have many, many assaults on our health. And if we are weak and vulnerable, we're dependent on the system and we're easier to control. So that's part of it. And then we have the fact that we're actually trained not to think. So I know it's because we're able to apply even just, very basic logic and reason to these situations. Of course, you do have to separate yourself from the construct, right? You have to, take a step outside and look at it more objectively. And it's important, it's critical to be able to do that, but that's part of thinking, right? And critical analysis, you have skepticism, all of these things. And in our compulsory schooling system, we are taught not to do that. We're taught to accept and memorize, and we're trained to appeal to authority. It's one of the most common logic fallacies in a debate or an argument, because it's so ingrained in us from the training and indoctrination of that compulsory schooling. And we're supposed to sacrifice our own personal needs in deference to that authority, right? Ask for permission to use the bathroom. It's like, really, you can draw this analogy to a well-trained dog, right? If you give the signal for the dog to sit, that dog doesn't sit around, pause for a moment and say, is it in my best interest to take a seat right now? Like, is he about to tell me something tragic? I prefer to stand, right? The dog just instantly sits. And that's what happens with men and women who have gone through this training and have not broken through the programming, that when they're confronted with these, obvious distortions and, where they can easily figure out that doesn't make any sense at all, they never even consider it. They just sit reflexively.
Well, yeah.